So I'm going to try something new. It's called drinking on camera and being a bad influence to all of the children. Cheers. Yeah. So, I've discovered over this week that I am a movie snob. I knew I was a snob about a lot of things. I didn't realize so much that it was movies. Movies are weird because I didn't really grow up with a lot of them. My family watched Sound of Music once a week, and I can't watch it ever again. But I watched a ton of movies in high school and college, and not even a ton. There's still so many movies that I feel like I haven't seen. I feel like, for me, there's so much of... I sit down and I watch things and I try and take things in, not strictly as entertainment, but more like, I feel like I should know about this. You know, I was like, I want to be funny in my videos, I should go through and I should watch the whole Saturday Night Live series to conflate movies and TV, but... or, you know, I should watch Citizen Kane, because people should have watched Citizen Kane, or The Godfather, or Goodfellas, or... Why am I going to gangster films? My brothers like gangster films and action films. We have very different tastes. But, no, it was interesting because I've been tempted to comment on a lot of your videos, guys and gal. Then I was like, no, I should save this for the discussion in my video. Because if I look at the films that I really enjoy, I look at sci-fi stuff, and just to start with, Alex, they were entertaining, but I don't look at them as good films. I don't feel like they necessarily changed my life. I watched Star Wars a ton as a kid, and I enjoy it, but I don't have a particular desire to go back and watch it again. But I do understand, as some of you guys have intimated, the whole idea that, well, everybody has seen that movie. It's kind of like a cultural expectation. You know what that is. It's Star Wars. You should know. It's a thing. It's a cultural thing. It's one of the things that... It's like we all read To Kill a Mockingbird in high school. None of us, nobody... I bet no one on this channel besides me read that. But everyone in my high school and a lot of people in Wisconsin did. Certainly in the UK, I imagine none of you have read To Kill a Mockingbird. I could be completely wrong about that. I shouldn't generalize. Yeah. So... Like, I look at my favorite films, and I'm just like, I'm thinking like Richard Linklater and stuff, and I was concerned about this. I'm like, I can't just be a movie snob. I just have to have found collaboration people who are not particularly movie people. And so I tweeted out, I was like, what are some of your favorite movies? And the majority of you have favorite movies that are fun and entertaining, but things that I and my judgmental self would say, they're not great. They're not incredibly well done. To your point, Niall, I'm jumping around all over the place. But Niall, you talked about just the idea that everything is vastly overproduced and stupid and trivial, and I sort of agree. What confuses me, though, is that, and as some of the commenters have pointed out, just the idea that, you know, we need these huge budgets for special effects and everything. And I look at them like, why do we need budgets for special effects at all? I mean... We can make explosions on our computers now. I mean, look at Freddie Wong stuff, or look at Tom Scott stuff, and sure, they have budgets. But give it enough time and enough patience, you can have someone sit there dicking around in After Effects, and, you know, you can get all of the special effects that you want. You don't need huge pyrotechnic stuff. You don't need huge, massive, expansive set pieces anymore. You don't need... casts of, you know, thousands of people when you want a large scene. If you look at, like, the Lord of the Rings movies, it's all CGI. So why do we suddenly need these huge budgets? And why don't we have good writers anymore? Yeah, the last thing I wanted to touch on with this is the idea of television. You know, I'm confusing vlogaloggers and commenters. No, you're all vlogaloggers. I think that's a good thing, honestly, that I'm confusing who said what and whether I read it or I heard it from one of you. But the idea that TV is awesome because you get to see the overall character arc of of different characters. You get to see the development, you get to associate with them. The one thing I would disagree about, though, is that I've watched so many shows recently where just the process of making long projects like that becomes very, very unsatisfying. That if you look at The West Wing, the fact that Aaron Sorkin was like, I don't like the way this is being run, so I'm leaving. And then the show got worse. And so by that point you're already invested in these characters, and you gotta keep watching. And I don't want to, but it's just the politics of it makes something weird. Or you look at How I Met Your Mother, which I loved during the first few seasons, and now it's just dragging on and on because they're like, it's successful, we gotta keep it running. Which is frustrating. It's frustrating to see. Or recently, Under the Dome started off very, very good, and then they had said this is going to be a mini-series, it's only going to be like 12 episodes, it's going to be great. And then like halfway through, they're like, we're making money off of this, let's twist the story and stretch everything out as much as possible. And it became just awful because they wanted to do a second season. And I'm like, the problem for me is that with the film, you have the budget, you plan the thing, you shoot it, and then you're done. And so I can grow with the character, and then the character is gone, and no one can destroy that character. If you make a sequel, I can pretend that you didn't. For some reason, I can't watch like the first season of a show and just be like, nope, nothing ever happened after that. So that's one of the things I like about movies. So let's change gears, shall we? DK is down. Which is sad, but you know, a lot of us are down. I basically told my subscribers to fuck off on Monday or Monday, I think. It's not a good idea. I'm also swearing in here because Niall asked at one point if he could swear, and I think he actually bleeped it out. So it's like, you know what? I'll break us in. Yeah, so drinking and swearing on the Vlogalogue channel, a perfect influence for all of the kids. I am nothing if not a role model. So, so DK, you mentioned bipolar disorder, which you've been diagnosed with. It got me to thinking about different labels, because you also talked about how you don't ever want to seem to be using that as an excuse or justification for things. And I am going to pause talking so that I make sure that the camera does not cut me off mid-sentence and then restart it. For those of you who are wondering, this is indeed why I tend to edit my videos, because they end up ridiculously long and rambly otherwise. But it got me to thinking about different labels, because I've not been diagnosed as bipolar. I've been diagnosed with anxiety disorder and depressive disorder. But I find that the language of bipolar and kind of the constructs of how people live with that disease has kind of helped me figure out how to deal with my life, I guess. I have no real desire to get a diagnosis, but the idea of being able to just say, you know, I will have manic days and I will have depressed days, and that right now I'm in my manic phase, so I can make a bunch of stuff, and just being able to kind of use those labels to come to some understanding about my life has been helpful. Of course, I'm also very conscious that I don't want to label myself as something that I may not be, for fear that it detracts from people who actually, you know, have the disorder, and so I don't want to misrepresent. There's a YouTube tag that's going around called the identity tag, and I don't particularly like it, because a lot of people are just making videos about different adjectives that they use to describe themselves, or that have been used to describe them, and I think what's a more interesting discussion is, what are some of the labels that you find, and do you find that any of them are helpful in figuring out how to go through living your life, or do you find that any of them are particularly hindrances? You know, I am an epileptic. That doesn't really matter at all. I mean, it does mean that I live in a city where I can go places without a car, which I guess is kind of a significant impact on my life, but beyond that, no, it really doesn't. But then I look at things like the Myers-Briggs personality type thing, int J, in case you were wondering. I start to wonder, does the fact that I think that I am an introvert make me introverted? Does the fact that there's the word judging associated with me incline myself to be a particularly judgmental, obnoxious person? I don't know. I think it's worth discussing. So, guys, what are some of the labels that you, I guess maybe not that other people use to describe you, but ones that you identify with or think may be appropriate for you? And how does that affect your life? Do you spend a lot of time trying to thwart them? Do you spend a lot of time where you feel like you're letting them define you? What does it do for you? See you next week. Bye.